All right. Now this is older, but it still checks out. The video quality is not going to be super great, but it's okay. Summoning salt. Dude, this guy has 1.5 million subs on YouTube. Just from doing shit like this. Insane. Fails in speedrunning? I mean, if you got a good video, you can DM it to me.
Super Metroid. One of Nintendo's most popular games since it came out back in 1994, it puts the player through an absolute adventure. You get dropped onto the planet Zebus and make your way underground.
Zebus.
A vast world of enemies, power-ups, and
Dude,
other
zebras.
oddities. Along the way, you fight several bosses, which test both the player's skill and guts to push onward. Finally, at the end of it all is Mother Brain, an extremely difficult fight that lasts for several minutes, and then a final escape back onto the ship. Many gamers agree that this game is one of Nintendo's masterpieces.
Oh,
Its
it's
popularity has stood the test of time, and
oh,
it's
it's
still commonly
crazy.
played today. As a way of honoring its greatness, for more than a decade, a group of speedrunners have been battling each other to beat it as fast as they can.
It is. This is not. It's not even up for debate, but this is one of the best video games ever created.
Or even lower the world record.
Like,
in fact, speedrun.com says that there's only 3 games in history that have been run more than Super Metroid. Given the game's legacy, the world record for this game has gone through many changes, whether it be new
and it's
strategies
raining
or better
again.
execution.
Great.
So, today, we're going to look at how the record for Super Metroid has gotten lower over time. One quick thing to note about this game, there are 2 ways of timing it. The in-game timer that you
Yep, here we go with this in-game time shit.
and real time, which is a more traditional approach of timing the run from start to finish with a timer. Speedrunners originally used in-game time, since it was accurate and didn't require the hassle of setting a timer.
Just figured something out. Quabe has rolled the TV into the classroom for
We're
the
going to
night.
start by going all the way back to 2004.
Pretty much.
Super Metroid speedrunner Smokey was able to get the first Super Metroid run with footage
Smokey.
that still exists today.
I've never heard of this
In-game
guy.
time of 38 minutes, or 56 minutes and 22 seconds of real time. Here's how he did it. There are 4 major boss fights in this game before fighting Mother Brain: Kraid, Phantoon, Ridley, and Dragon. You can defeat these bosses in whichever order you want, as long as you defeat them all at some point. Smokey started off his run by heading into Brinstar and fighting Kraid. He was able to do a quick kill on Kraid by shooting him with his super missile when Kraid's mouth was like this, walking it into position, and finishing off the fight quickly. Normally, Kraid's fight could last over a minute, as you'd have to rise all the way up like this from the ground. With this quick kill, it was over in only about 10 seconds. Next, Smokey headed over to the wrecked ship and fought Phantoon. You can only hit Phantoon in his eye, and you can only hit his eye when it is exposed. Phantoon also likes to move around.
No X Factor.
Depending on what patterns he gives, this fight can either take a very long time
What's the deal,
or be over
bruv?
fairly quickly. This fight ended up taking Smokey around 90 seconds. Then, Smokey went into Meridia to fight Dragon. Dragon is one of the most difficult sections of the game. She can either swoop down or do a mucus cycle. The mucus cycle is where she releases mucus and pretty much just wastes time, and the swoop is where she, well, swoops down. While Smokey didn't have a perfectly clean fight, it was certainly good enough given the time. Finally, the last boss that Smokey fought was Ridley, in Lower Norfair.
I think this is intended route.
Grab Samus, charge at her,
Which
elbow up
there,
and
funny
down,
enough, there
and
is
of
a
course,
speedrun
super
category
bosses.
called Nintendo
Bit
Power
of luck and a
Percent,
lot of skillful execution.
and you follow
Smokey is able
the
to
route
defeat Ridley in about
that
60
they
seconds.
have you do in
Having
Nintendo
the
Power.
bosses in the order Smokey did, Kraid, then Phantoon, then Dragon, and then Ridley, will be used as a template for how to go through the game as fast as possible for years. It became known as the KPDR route, taking the first letter from the name of each of the 4 bosses in the order that they were fought. After going through these 4 bosses, Smokey headed back up to the ship to get his energy back, and then headed over to fight Mother Brain. This fight has 3 forms. The first form is easy enough. You just break open the glass tank with missiles. Then, the second form appears, and the player first sees how big Mother Brain truly is. The best way to deal with this section is to just keep dealing charge shots directly at Mother Brain's face, and dodge her attacks. Some of
Dude,
which
this
kill you
is-
with one hit. Smokey did a beautiful job of this in his run.
This is
After this
720p.
phase is a cutscene, and then the third and final form of Mother Brain,
And
where you must deal as much damage to her as quickly as you can. Smokey's method of doing this was to just stand in the lower right corner of the screen and constantly land face shots. It worked well enough, and then all Smokey had to do was escape the exploding planet and get onto the ship. Since he was trying to optimize game time instead of real time, He called his run a 38-minute run. Smokey would eventually lower his time down to 36 minutes, but no footage of his later runs exists today. A couple of years later, in 2006,
yeah, we can watch that. We can watch that after this.
Smokey's 36-minute run with a 34-minute run, and was planning to shock the speedrunning community with it. But right as he was about to submit it to the website,
oh, good old SDA.
Speedrunner showed off their runs. He got a
good old SDA.
A Japanese runner had already beaten him by 2 minutes.
Fun fact: SDA was initially created to record Quake times.
He saw the world record in Mario games, Mega Man games, several other games and franchises, and many of his records were unbeatable for years. There's not really much that I can say that would be enough to pay tribute to how amazing he really was. The way he got to 32 was mainly just by
this one's like,
everything like a
I think 20-ish minutes.
Nearly everybody thought that it was fake. The time was just too low for it to be real. Here's an actual quote.
Yeah, so this guy, Japanese runner named Harurubi, is kind of like a celebrity in the speedrunning world. Like, he was able to
verification for weeks while the verifiers tried to decide whether or not the video was legitimate. However,
get
evidence of foul play
he was able to
so today, on behalf of Metroid 2002
just
Speed Demos Archive, I am proud to present Super
do
Metroid
things that were so ahead of the time.
People use
Like,
things like
just a monster.
a downward slope before speed booster to try and prove that the run was fake. Normally, arm pumping like that down a slope would interrupt Samus's running speed. But if these people had
Quake Done Quick was GDQ's original name.
Realized that this only applies on certain slopes. The one before the speed booster was fine to arm pump on. Probably the best part of this run was at the end. Hodarubi knew that he had a 32 on lock, but also knew that he wasn't going to be fast enough to get a 31. So, just for the hell of it, he decided to save the animals. For anyone
save the animals, bro, for disrespect.
And shoot this door behind a room filled with animals to save them.
And then shine Spark out of the room for swag.
Pixel float off into the distance.
God, dude.
Supposed to be the animals that escaped. All in all, this wastes about 25 seconds, and is supposed to just be a meme done at Games Done Quick events sometimes. But no. Hodarubi decided that he would create a run so amazing that everyone thought that it was fake, and save the animals just to annoy everyone a little more. After this run came out, a couple of Super Metroid runners, Azor and 072, decided they wanted to try and beat Hodarubi's run by getting a 31-minute segmented run. As opposed to Hodarubi's single segment run, which is a traditional run.
That's one way of putting your dick on the table.
A segmented run is a run completed in multiple segments. Runners can grind one segment over and over until they get it how they like, and then move on to the next one. Once they get a great run for each segment, they can piece them together.
Yeah, segmented runs. Kind of like modern RE4 remake runs. Bad time, just reload your game and then reset.
Just decided to get a 31 single segment run. And once again, people were completely in awe of his skill. One interesting thing that Hodarubi did during this run was decide to focus more on real-time strategies rather than game-time strategies. One such strat...
I don't think anybody does segmented runs anymore. I mean, the closest is like RE4 Remake. Because it's like, you get a bad time or a segment doesn't go well, you just reload the save file, you quit out, that way it preserves the in-game time and you don't lose any time. It's just, it's so fucking stupid, dude.
Since he was going for real-time, this run gradually stopped being referred to as a 31 and began to be called its real-time equivalent, a 49-25. For a few years, Hodarubi was completely untouchable. People began to race.
Yeah, segmented run. I never really agreed with segmented runs because, like, even in the earlier stages of like running, I was thinking of like marketing.
Eventually,
in my eyes, I was like, a segmented run. There's no way that people would want to watch a segmented run over like a real-time run, like start to finish.
Fusiana, Emodoran, and Hypo were all trying to get their own sub-50-minute run. Eventually, two of these runners rose above the rest and got a sub-50, Fusiana and Emodoran. I was unable to find footage of these runs, but regardless, these two runners were
yeah, that's a theory task, Photon.
Taking down Hodarubi's nearly perfect world record. Unfortunately though, neither of them were able to pull it off. They got close, but Hodarubi's run was just too good. It seemed like Hodorubi's record would stand for years more.
No, it's called a theory
But after
task.
Luciana and Emodoran faded away from the Super Metroid,
I know what you're talking about.
another one of those 7 runners was able to pull off a sub 50. Garrison. Garrison streamed his attempts.
Old school. Oh man, old school guy. This guy does not, dude. He doesn't stream anymore. I think he's like married, kids, and shit. I think. I don't know.
Garrison was just a few seconds away from Hodorubi. Finally,
Yeah.
on June 6th, 2012, it seemed like he was going to beat it. It was going to be close, and it was all coming down to the final escape.
Why am I not married with kids?
Are you kidding?
Because I'm a
dude?
fucking loser, that's why.
TWR.
His timer showed that he had beaten it by 1 second, but in reality, Garrison tried to go down into the ship too early, and stopped the timer then too. He actually went down about a second later, so he was officially tied.
Not a
with
joke.
Hodorubi. But a week later, he had another chance.
$49.22. But again, I don't think they used real time. Oh wait, no, they did. At this point, yeah, they wait. What time period is this?
Bad escape.
After having the record for 6 years, Hodorubi had finally been topped. It wasn't by much, and it was slower in the in-game timer, but Garrison had done what so many thought was impossible.
1:54:15.
Over the next few
Wait,
months,
oh, who did it?
Garrison continued to
Juice?
run Super Metroid. The combination of better movement, better RNG, and slightly improved strategies allowed him to keep pushing his record time down lower. One such strategy was the full halfie, which allows the runner
Ow.
to skip the
Pinky.
entire Coliseum. For months, Garrison and MSDS spent countless hours trying to figure out these new strategies, leading to Garrison calling MSDS the unsung hero of Super Metroid. Eventually, Garrison was able to push his time down all the way to 47:50. But while Garrison was doing this, another Super Metroid player was quickly improving in the background, Caught Power. Originally a PAL runner, or a runner
Another
of the European version of the game,
Retired runner.
Power became aware of the grind for the NTSC record after it was showcased at ESA 2012. He set out to improve his time. In mid-2012, his PB was 54 minutes. Just a few months later, he improved so much that he was able to take the record from Garrison out of nowhere, on November 3rd, 2012.
Boom.
For a few months after that, Garrison and Cop Power took turns lowering the record. Mostly, they just kept out-executing.
Now the record's like
But
40,
Cop Power also found a semi-decent
45,
way to do an extremely difficult
I
trick,
think.
the big Metroid skip, which allows you to skip getting grabbed by this Metroid at the end of the game, and saves a few seconds. While Garrison and Cop Power continued to trade the record back and forth, a new runner, Zost, proved his skill and took it from them.
Yep. 46:05, dude.
Hell yeah. Damn, my heart is beating so hard.
It was pretty clear to most that Zost was a pretty big force to be reckoned with, and we'll get to Zost again later. But anyway, these three kept trading
I
the
don't
record
know,
back,
Fireblade.
and once the time came down to 45:36,
Last I heard,
Power, it seemed as though the run was
Zost
getting
had
pretty
as
close to the boundaries of what was
nerve
even
damage.
possible. New strategies were coming out all the time, but nobody could have expected what was coming next. On July 26th, 2013, Super Metroid fans woke up to find that the record had changed once again. Only this time, it wasn't Zost, Garrison, or Cop Power. It was
Ooh.
by a speedrunner who didn't even stream on Twitch, Behemoth. This run was done thanks to a number of new strategies that he had figured out
Okay.
with the help of other runners in secret in a private thread.
So this guy, there's quite a bit of drama that, like, surrounded him because he developed a route that was apparently, like, thought of but never, like, put into practice. But at the time, this guy developed a route that was, like, what, a minute and a half faster than the current one. So what he did was he got really good, and then eventually, like, when he did this new route that saved like a shitload of time, and then got the record for it, and then he didn't upload any videos, he didn't stream, he was pretty much just kind of like an out of nowhere, and it's like, boom, here's the video. And so many people were mad, and yeah, it's not good to do that, but like, people were pissed. They were like, man, you hid strats, you hid that from us, and you know, people weren't trying to fucking cancel him or anything, but it was a, you know, a little slimy. But
some of these strategies included climbing up the red tower super quickly, similar to how the tool-assisted run did it, and defeating the plasma pirates with a super bomb. This method of grinding strategies and getting the record offline became known as behemothing, so one could say that Zost got behemoth with this run. Zost got back to grinding, and using these strategies, he's able to get the record back from Behemoth a couple of weeks later.
yeah, he didn't mention the part that I said.
The chat was pretty excited, including this runner named Oats and Goats. Remember that name?
I know him.
At this point, the new strategies allowed for the time to come all the way down to a 44. Zost was the first one to get it, although runners Ivan and Krauser also were trying to get the record. These three runners and Garrison ended up racing the game at AGDQ 2014, and what has gone down as one of the greatest speedrunning races of all time.
Well, and
After that AGDQ, it was all Zost. He wanted to push the game as far as he could. The in-game timer was at a 29 still for all of his runs, and you wondered if maybe he could get it down to a 28. He pushed it more and more, and to his surprise, in August of 2014, he got the 28.
Oh shit!
28.
Holy shit, dude!
The time of that run in real time was a 44:08. It seemed like that might be a fitting ending to the game's speedrun. The game had started by being timed by in-game time, and while it had switched to real time, Zost had pushed the game time down as far as it seemed it could go in the process. But then Zost got Behemoth again. For the past 10 years, or maybe even longer, runners have been following the same route that Smokey did at the beginning of the video. Crave first, then Fantoon, then Dragon,
okay,
and
so he...
Ridley. In early 2014, Behemoth began to search maybe there was a faster route through the game. He looked with Reeve, Forensic, and even Smokey, who was one of the first runners to use the KPDR route. And after a few months of searching, and a few more months of practicing and working out quirks, Behemoth had himself a new route to use. Fantoon first, then Ridley, then Kraid, and finally
This is called PRKD instead of KPRD.
Given great RNG,
Or no, KPDR.
of real time. Although it would lose 2 minutes of game time, but nobody really cared about game time. While the minute and 40 seconds of gain seemed fantastic, the only problem is that it's harder. A lot harder.
A lot harder.
The luck required with the boss's patterns to get all 100 seconds is pretty unlikely. Still, that didn't stop Behemoth from behemothing Zost once again.
Behemothing.
His record by 20 seconds with this new route just 5 days after Zost got the 44:08. The reaction to this new route being discovered was overwhelmingly positive from almost the entire Super Metroid community. The potential to lower the record was great, so Zost and Behemoth got to work,
But again,
fully executing the route
he didn't mention the
or RNG.
stuff that I said. Boom.
Hell yeah.
Is there one of these for MMX?
Not bad.
No, I think I talked to Summoning Salt about this a long time ago, and he said there's not enough
Hell yeah.
history.
No steam.
There's not enough, like, footage or something. Yeah, Link to the Past would be cool.
Oh,
But like, I don't know, man. Whatever. I don't see an MMX one.
fuck.
By mid-2015, it was pretty clear that Zost was just a complete god at Super Metroid. He pushed it more and more, simply by executing the route better, getting better RNG, and by being Zost. The month of October 2015 was pretty solid for Super Metroid. Zost got a new record of 42.32 on October 10th. 8 days later, he took 2 seconds off of it. The next day, he took another 2 seconds off. 3 days later, another 3 seconds came off. And finally, 4 days later, on October 26th...
Yeah, like, I really hate, dude, the whole, like, drama and political and crap like that whenever it comes to speedruns is just so stupid. So fucking petty, man.
42-13. Whoa. That's a 28, my friends.
He improved the Super Metroid record 5 times in 1 month, and took half a minute off of the record in process. Zost seemed to be the undisputed champion of Super Metroid speedrunning. But do you guys remember that guy Oats and Goats I was talking about?
Yeah. I know him. Headphone...
Yes!
Wake! Headphone warning?
Yes! Woo! Yeah, dude, we got it! Yeah.
I watched this live too, I think.
Dude,
Pretty sure.
Yes! We fucking got it!
After having steadily improved his own personal best for months, Oats and Goats was able to take the world record from the legendary Zost by a few seconds. The time was down to a low 42, so naturally, as all speedrunners would do, everyone was anticipating the 41-minute time. Zost and Oats both wanted it, so they both started grinding it. Zost wasn't streaming attempts quite as often,
Oh
but
man.
Oats was streaming 41 attempts
Good
every
old,
day.
like, race
Ultimately,
to
though, Zost was the
X-time
first to find
competition.
success. He started by tying
It's
Oats'
good stuff,
42
man.
attempts,
That's...
then lowered the
It
record by
helps,
5
man, when you
seconds
got
a few months
somebody
later.
there that you're,
Finally,
like,
in
playing the
September
game with.
2016, he did it.
Like,
He
you
got a 41
motivate
feet
each other
offline
so
and
much.
then replayed it on
And
his screen.
that's how,
But
that's how,
Oats
like,
wasn't about to give up. He knew that he had the skill to get the record back.
that's
So he kept pushing.
that's how it works.
Even though it was
That's how shit
incredibly
happens.
frustrating sometimes. And then, on October 18th, 2016, everything was coming together. He cleared boss after boss, difficult section after difficult section, and then it was on to the escape.
Not looking.
Not looking.
Not looking.
I watched this run too.
That's it, baby! That's it! Yeah!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah!
What is he doing?
It!
Boom!
February
10,
2017,
dude, 10,000
World
big
Record
ones.
Super Metroid has been on the forefront of the speedrunning community ever since speedruns were even a thing. It's been one of the most coveted records, and every time the record has changed hands, it's brought in a wave of attention to the game and to the runners. This game requires so much, an insane amount of skill,
Okay, fails in
a ton of
speedrunning.
RNG, and a seemingly endingless amount of patience and persistence. While the record keeps getting so optimized, who knows what new strategies will be discovered, or if Behemoth will do his thing again and completely revolutionize the game. Although, he does stream now, so it's unlikely that he would find it in secret. This game has a long and treasured past, and it's sure to have a thrilling future as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Alright, fails in speedrunning. Wait, somebody link the
Geodude_noise.
the
and
fails in
score that
speedrunning.
$5. I was gonna type out the Geodude noise, but I have no idea how to spell it. I think
Oh,
it's
hold
something
on.
like
I got it.
but I could be wrong.
What?